This digital extension fundamentally changes how information about you and your home circulates. Neighborhood apps, community Facebook groups, Nextdoor forums, and local social media channels have created virtual spaces where observations about your property, activities, and patterns can be shared instantly with hundreds or thousands of local residents, not just your immediate neighbors. A comment about your new landscaping project, regular dog walking schedule, frequent food deliveries, or extended absence can quickly spread throughout your entire community digital ecosystem. What previously might have been mentioned to one or two neighbors over a fence now potentially reaches everyone in your zip code. These digital platforms create a searchable, permanent archive of neighborhood discussions. Comments about your home renovations, package deliveries, or travel patterns don't disappear like verbal conversations. They remain accessible and can be found months or years later by people researching your street or property. The merging of physical observation with digital sharing creates a new neighborhood reality that few people fully comprehend. The neighbor who notices your new security cameras might post about them, prompting online discussions about crime concerns on your street that potential home buyers discover years later during property research. This digital dimension offers benefits like community connection, local recommendations, and emergency alerts. But it also requires awareness about what information regarding your home and habits enters these permanent community archives. Type "I understand the digital aspect" to continue. Within this reality of neighborhood observation lies a significant opportunity that most people completely miss. The same awareness that might initially seem concerning can be transformed into a powerful asset for creating the living environment you actually want. When you recognize that neighbors are already forming impressions based on what they observe, you can approach this dynamic consciously rather than haphazardly. This awareness allows you to shape perceptions, build beneficial relationships, and create the neighborhood experience you desire. The opportunity begins with a perspective shift. Instead of seeing neighborhood observation as something happening to you, recognize it as a community dynamic you can actively participate in and influence. This shift immediately transforms you from object to agent in your neighborhood story. Conscious engagement with these dynamics creates tangible benefits: increased home security as neighbors watch out for unusual activity, property value protection through community standards, emergency assistance during unexpected situations, and the invaluable sense of belonging that comes from living in a community rather than just a location. This isn't about manipulating impressions or creating false personas. It's about thoughtfully participating in the natural flow of neighborhood awareness rather than ignoring it. It means understanding that some level of observation is inevitable, so conscious engagement is more effective than attempted invisibility. The knowledge you've gained already puts you ahead of most people who remain unaware of these dynamics. With this understanding, you can now begin transforming neighborhood observation from potential concern to actual advantage. Type "I see the opportunity" to continue. Creating a deliberate neighborhood presence begins with mindful awareness of how you're perceived. Your presence becomes a conscious creation rather than an accidental development, giving you significantly more control over your community experience. Type "I choose my neighborhood presence" to continue. Strategic neighbor relationships create a security network far more effective than any technical system. Building these connections doesn't require becoming best friends with everyone on your street. It means establishing mutual recognition and reasonable goodwill with key neighbors. Focus first on proximity-based connections. The neighbors whose properties directly border yours, who have sight lines to your entrances, or who occupy strategic viewing positions become your most important relationship priorities. These specific connections matter more than general neighborhood popularity. The exchange principle forms the foundation of these relationships. Simple acts like collecting mail during their vacation, sharing occasional garden surplus, or providing useful local information create reciprocity without requiring deep personal involvement. These exchanges establish mutual benefit patterns that naturally extend to security awareness. Communication boundaries remain essential within these relationships. Friendly rapport doesn't require sharing travel schedules, security details, or personal information. You can maintain warm connections while being selectively private about matters affecting your home security. The watched but watching dynamic creates mutual accountability that benefits everyone involved. When neighbors know you're aware of neighborhood patterns just as they are, it creates balanced observation rather than one-sided vulnerability. This mutual awareness forms the basis of genuine community security. These connections create your neighborhood security network. People who notice unusual activity at your home, who recognize non-belonging vehicles in your driveway, who pick up misdirected deliveries, and who provide the human surveillance that techn. Your presence becomes a conscious creation rather than an accidental development, giving you significantly more control over your community experience. Type I choose my neighborhood presence to continue. Strategic neighbor relationships create a security network far more effective than any technical system. Building these connections doesn't require becoming best friends with everyone on your street. It means establishing mutual recognition and reasonable goodwill with key neighbors. Focus first on proximity-based connections. The neighbors whose properties directly border yours, who have sight lines to your entrances, or who occupy strategic viewing positions become your most important relationship priorities. These specific connections matter more than general neighborhood popularity. The exchange principle forms the foundation of these relationships. Simple acts like collecting mail during their vacation, sharing occasional garden surplus, or providing useful local information create reciprocity without requiring deep personal involvement. These exchanges establish mutual benefit patterns that naturally extend to security awareness. Communication boundaries remain essential within these relationships. Friendly rapport doesn't require sharing travel schedules, security details, or personal information. You can maintain warm connections while being selectively private about matters affecting your home security. The watched but watching dynamic creates mutual accountability that benefits everyone involved. When neighbors know you're aware of neighborhood patterns just as they are, it creates balanced observation rather than one-sided vulnerability. This mutual awareness forms the basis of genuine community security. These connections create your neighborhood security network. People who notice unusual activity at your home, who recognize non-belonging vehicles in your driveway, who pick up misdirected deliveries, and who provide the human surveillance that technology alone cannot replicate. Type I will build better relationships to continue. Specific adjustments to your daily patterns can significantly enhance your privacy and security while maintaining positive neighborhood relationships. These changes don't require major lifestyle overhauls. They're subtle modifications that yield substantial benefits. Begin with delivery management. Establishing alternative delivery locations for valuable packages prevents creating visible evidence of expensive acquisitions. Promptly retrieving deliveries eliminates telling signs of absence. Varying delivery timing avoids establishing predictable patterns of valuable items arriving at your home. Next, consider schedule variations. Minor adjustments to departure and arrival times prevent establishing obvious vacancy windows. Occasional schedule changes disrupt anyone tracking your movements. Different exit and entry points used randomly increase pattern unpredictability while requiring minimal effort. Home occupancy signals require thoughtful planning. Smart home technology that varies lighting patterns creates the impression of active occupancy. Occasional weekend absences establish that variations in your presence are normal, not automatic indicators of travel. Strategic at-home visibility during varied times prevents predictable absence patterns. Information flow management becomes essential. Different neighbors might receive different pieces of general information rather than everyone getting complete details. Planned information timing means sharing certain updates after, not before, they're relevant to security. Consistent privacy practices prevent sudden changes that draw attention during important times like vacations. Trash and recycling patterns often reveal more than people realize. Varying bin placement timing, being cautious with packaging that reveals expensive purchases, and occasionally adjusting disposal patterns eliminates one of the most overlooked information sources in neighborhoods. Type "I'm ready to adjust" to continue. Beyond protecting yourself from observation, there's tremendous value in understanding how to gather and use community intelligence ethically. This awareness helps you make better decisions about everything from home improvements to security measures. Community intelligence begins with observation without judgment. Notice patterns in your neighborhood without immediately assigning meaning. Which homes have regular visitors? How do traffic patterns change throughout the day? When are different areas of your community most active or quiet? These observations build your contextual awareness. Local knowledge networks provide valuable insights when approached thoughtfully. Casual conversations with dog walkers, mail carriers, and service providers often reveal community patterns invisible to occasional observers. These sources understand neighborhood rhythms in ways even long-term residents might miss. Information assessment becomes critical. Learning to distinguish between accurate community information and neighborhood speculation prevents making decisions based on false assumptions. Not all neighborhood knowledge is equally reliable, and discernment about sources prevents costly mistakes. Reciprocal information sharing strengthens community security. Appropriately sharing relevant observations about unusual activity creates mutual protection. This isn't about reporting every minor deviation but about recognizing genuinely concerning patterns that might affect community safety. The ultimate goal is transforming from a community of isolated
When
observers
neighbors move
into
from
a
watching
neighborhood
each other
of connected
suspiciously
guardians to watching out for each other actively. the entire community benefits from enhanced security and stronger connections. Type I value community intelligence to continue. Specific privacy measures can significantly reduce unwanted observation while maintaining a friendly neighborhood presence. These practical approaches create appropriate boundaries without fostering isolation or suspicion. Visual privacy deserves immediate attention. Strategic landscaping like partial screening shrubs creates natural sight barriers without appearing defensive. Window treatments that allow light while preventing direct viewing maintain both privacy and aesthetic appeal. Outdoor living spaces can be designed with activity areas positioned away from direct sight lines. Timing adjustments create natural privacy windows. Identifying lower activity periods in your neighborhood allows scheduling private activities during natural observation gaps. Recognizing peak observation times, morning departures, evening dog walks, weekend lawn care, helps plan accordingly for activities requiring greater privacy. Routine variations prevent establishing patterns that make absences obvious. Occasionally leaving lights on during the day, parking in different locations, or using different doors disrupts pattern tracking without requiring significant lifestyle changes. These small inconsistencies make your activities less predictable to casual observers. Technological considerations extend beyond security systems. Being mindful of smart speaker placement prevents conversations being overheard through open windows. Awareness of visible screens from outside viewpoints prevents unintentional information sharing. Wi-Fi security prevents digital neighborhood intrusion, complementing physical privacy measures. The communication balance requires ongoing attention. Friendliness doesn't necessitate transparency about personal matters. Brief, pleasant interactions can satisfy social expectations without revealing private information. Deflection skills allow redirecting overly personal questions without seeming secretive or rude. Type I protect my privacy to continue. Understanding the deeper psychological dynamics of neighborhood observation gives you insights most people never develop. These psychological principles explain why observation happens and how to work with rather than against these natural human tendencies. Territorial awareness operates as a basic human instinct. Neighbors observe their surroundings because our brains evolved to monitor our territories for both threats and resources. This awareness intensifies in closer living arrangements where property lines create artificial boundaries that psychological territoriality social cohesion through information serves as another primary driver. Humans naturally gather and share information about their social group to strengthen community bonds. Neighbors discussing observations about each other often seek connection rather than invasion, though the effect can feel intrusive regardless of intent. The uncertainty response explains increased observation during changing circumstances. When neighbors experience uncertainty, new residents, unusual activities, community changes, their observation naturally intensifies as their brains seek to restore predictability and safety through information gathering. Reciprocal visibility creates important psychological balances. Communities where observation feels mutual rather than one-sided develop healthier dynamics. This balance explains why neighborhoods with front porches and visible community activities often report stronger security and satisfaction despite having less physical privacy. Status assessment runs as a background process in neighborhood interactions. Observations about home improvements, visitors, purchases, and activities feed into implicit social hierarchies that exist in every community. Understanding this dynamic helps explain seemingly excessive interest in your property changes or lifestyle elements. Type I understand the psychology to continue. Even with the best prevention strategies, challenging neighborhood situations sometimes arise. Having specific approaches for these scenarios helps maintain both your boundaries and community harmony when neighbors cross lines. The direct, private conversation serves as your first-line response to minor boundary issues. Addressing specific behaviors rather than making general complaints keeps these conversations productive. Using I statements about your needs rather than accusatory you statements about their actions prevents unnecessary defensiveness. Pattern interruption works effectively with neighbors who consistently seek information. Changing the subject, asking them questions instead, or creating natural conversation endings gives you immediate control without confrontation. These techniques prevent establishing information-sharing expectations without creating social awkwardness. The reasonable explanation approach maintains privacy through partial transparency. Providing simplified, general explanations for visible activities satisfies curiosity without sharing private details. This approach recognizes that offering some information often prevents speculation that creates less accurate assumptions. Proper authority involvement should be considered only for serious privacy violations. Understanding the difference between annoying interest and actual harassment prevents unnecessary escalation. When authority involvement becomes necessary, documenting specific incidents, dates, and patterns provides essential credibility. Community standards conversations can address broader neighborhood observation issues. Discussing general privacy expectations through neighborhood associations or community meetings establishes shared norms without singling out specific neighbors. These conversations work best when framed around collective security rather than individual privacy complaints. Your demeanor during these interactions significantly impacts outcomes. Remaining calm, solution-focused, and neighborly even during boundary-setting conversations preserves important community relationships that benefit your long-term security and quality of life. Type I can handle challenges to continue. Beyond managing external observation, creating a true sense of sanctuary within your home provides essential psychological security. This internal sanctuary exists regardless of neighborhood dynamics and serves as your foundation for genuine privacy and peace. The sanctuary mindset begins with conscious transitions between public and private spaces. Creating entry rituals that help you mentally shift from observed to unobserved states can be as simple as specific words you think when entering your home or brief moments of conscious awareness at your threshold. Physical sanctuary zones within your home deserve special attention. Designating spaces that are never visible to outside observation gives you complete freedom from neighborhood awareness. These might be specific rooms, carefully positioned furniture arrangements, or areas shielded by thoughtful landscaping. Sound privacy often gets overlooked despite its importance. Understanding sound travel patterns in your neighborhood helps position private conversations appropriately. Being aware of open window sound projection and creating ambient sound barriers when needed provides essential conversational privacy. Mental sanctuary practices build internal privacy regardless of external circumstances. Developing the ability to feel completely at ease despite knowing neighborhood observation exists becomes a valuable psychological skill. This mental sanctuary comes from accepting reasonable observation while maintaining clear internal boundaries about what matters to you. Home energy management might sound abstract but creates tangible effects. Regularly clearing your home of negative emotional residue through your preferred methods, whether that's physical cleaning, opening windows, burning sage, prayer, or simply setting conscious intentions, maintains your space as truly yours despite external awareness. Type "My home is my sanctuary" to continue. The connection between your physical neighborhood and your digital presence creates unique privacy considerations that most people completely overlook. Understanding these intersections helps prevent creating unnecessary vulnerability through seemingly unrelated online activities. Location tagging requires immediate attention review. Checking whether your social media automatically tags your home location prevents creating searchable records of your address. Reviewing historical posts to remove any home location tags eliminates existing vulnerabilities. Being conscious about when you check in at locations near your home prevents establishing trackable patterns. Vacation announcements create predictable problems. Posting about upcoming absences essentially broadcasts vacancy to anyone with connection to your social networks, including neighbors, friends, family members, and acquaintances you've never met. Sharing travel experiences after returning rather than before departing maintains social connection without creating security gaps. Neighborhood social media groups present unique considerations. Remembering that posts in neighborhood platforms create permanent, searchable records changes what information you might share. Considering whether specific details about your home, schedule, or property would be shared in person with every single member helps determine what's appropriate to post digitally. Purchase visibility often gets overlooked. Posting about new valuable items while also revealing address information through neighborhood group membership creates unnecessary targeting risk. Being mindful about showing home layouts, security features, or access points in background of photos prevents providing information useful for negative purposes. Friend connections with neighbors benefit from thoughtful consideration. Determining what access levels different neighbors should have to your personal information allows maintaining friendly connections without oversharing. Creating appropriate social media boundaries often requires different privacy settings for different neighborhood connections. Type "I'll be social media smart" to continue. Actively shaping how your neighbors perceive you and your home gives you significant advantages in neighborhood dynamics. This isn't about manipulation but about intentional rather than accidental impression formation. The security-conscious but friendly balance serves as your foundation. Demonstrating appropriate security awareness without appearing paranoid establishes you as aware but approachable. This perception discourages those looking for easy targets while encouraging positive neighbor relationships. Consistency between property appearance and personal presentation matters more than most realize. Alignment between how you maintain your property and how you present yourself creates coherent impressions that neighbors find reassuring rather than confusing. This consistency builds unconscious trust that strengthens community bonds. Selective visibility allows controlling what aspects of your life enter neighborhood awareness. Choosing which activities occur in front-facing areas versus private spaces lets you share parts of your life that build connection while keeping other elements private. This deliberate sharing creates authentic but bounded community relationships. Information management through conversation steering gives immediate control. Developing comfort with redirecting overly personal questions, changing subjects naturally, and offering general rather than specific information provides daily impression management. These skills let you participate in neighborhood interaction without overexposure. The perception of mutual respect establishes the most product. These approaches create neighborhood perceptions that serve your security, privacy, and community needs simultaneously rather than forcing trade-offs between these important elements. Type I control my perception to continue. Sustainable neighborhood living requires developing systems rather than maintaining constant vigilance. A long-term strategy creates lasting privacy and security while allowing you to enjoy your home without continuous awareness of neighborhood dynamics. Automated security measures provide baseline protection without ongoing attention. Establishing lighting patterns, routine property maintenance, and basic security protocols that function with minimal input creates persistent protection. These systems work whether you're actively thinking about neighborhood dynamics or not. Relationship maintenance rhythms prevent connection decay without requiring constant interaction. Establishing natural, occasional points of positive neighbor contact maintains important security relationships with minimal effort. These might be seasonal greetings, community events, or simply regular acknowledgement routines that keep connections active. Boundary reinforcement intervals help prevent gradual erosion of privacy standards. Periodically reassessing and gently reinforcing your established boundaries prevents the common pattern of incremental privacy loss through exception creep. This might mean occasionally declining information requests you might have fulfilled as a one-time exception. Neighborhood awareness development happens naturally over time. As you implement these approaches, you'll develop intuitive understanding of your specific community patterns. This awareness becomes increasingly automatic, requiring less conscious attention while providing better information about what requires response and what doesn't. The ultimate long-term strategy creates a lifestyle rather than a constant effort. Integration of these principles into natural routines means eventually you'll maintain appropriate privacy, security, and community connection without thinking about it explicitly. This integration allows genuine enjoyment of your home and neighborhood without hypervigilance or isolation. Type I have a long-term plan to continue. You now understand what most people never realize about neighborhood dynamics. This awareness gives you advantages in creating the secure, private, yet connected home environment you deserve. The knowledge you've gained transforms neighborhood observation from a potential concern into a practical opportunity. Remember that some level of neighborhood awareness is inevitable and potentially beneficial. The choice isn't whether neighbors will notice patterns, but whether you'll participate consciously in how those patterns are perceived and what information becomes available. This conscious participation makes all the difference. Your home can be both private sanctuary and positive community presence. These aren't opposing goals but complementary aspects of thoughtful neighborhood living. The balance you create becomes increasingly natural as you implement the approaches you've learned. The most empowering realization is that you're not subject to neighborhood dynamics. You're an active creator of them. Your choices, boundaries, and engagement patterns directly influence how observation works in your community. This influence gives you significant control over your experience. As you move forward with this knowledge, focus on progress rather than perfection. Small, consistent adjustments create substantial improvements in both privacy and community connection. Each positive change builds on previous efforts, gradually transforming your entire neighborhood experience. Your awareness is now your greatest asset. Use it with confidence to create the neighborhood life you truly want. Type "I am neighborhood empowered" to complete this message.